Alright, so going back a few months on the channel, I made a video about a quarterback by the name of Preston Stone. I called him criminally underrated, but as week 1 has continued to roll on, Preston Stone may legitimately be the worst quarterback in the Power 4 this season, and he may not ever start another game for the Northwestern Wildcats. I don't mean to be overly dramatic, but I have not seen a performance this bad in quite some time. The Northwestern Wildcats faced off with Tulane in their first game, and while many people thought the Wildcats were going to be bad, they were looking to put that rumor to rest. Instead, Preston Stone had one of the worst games of anybody in this year's college football season so far, as he went 19 of 36 for 161 yards, but he had 4 interceptions without a single touchdown. Tulane destroyed Northwestern 23-3, and it wasn't particularly close. What's also interesting is that Tulane's quarterback dominated the game, Jake Retzloff, and he had only been there a couple of weeks, whereas Preston Stone ended up having an entire offseason to prepare. Going back in time, this guy had an insane high school career, was the highest rated quarterback to ever go to SMU, and looked like the future for the Mustangs program. Now, a year and a half later, he was benched for Kevin Jennings, had the transfer, and now might be the worst Power 4 quarterback in the nation. In today's video, we're going to go through the rise and fall of Preston Stone, talk about why he became such a big recruit, and his unfortunate downfall since then. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to Preston Stone. Okay, so in order to understand how Stone got to this point, we first need to go back in time. He grew up in the state of Texas in a football-loving family, as his older brother was a guy by the name of Lindell Stone, and he was a quarterback at Virginia, and he also had another brother who was a walk-on at SMU. Growing up the youngest of 3, Preston always had to look up to his older brothers. His other brothers began playing football in elementary school, and this was Preston's first time seeing the game. He said, quote, "I grew up watching them play when I was really little, and I obviously wanted to be like them. My oldest brother Lindell played quarterback, so I guess that's how I started to play quarterback. I fell in love with it." At the time, Parish Episcopal's head coach Daniel Novikov ended up seeing him when he was in elementary school and knew he possessed something that you don't see every day. He said, quote, "Preston with sports in school, he's always sort of been ahead. In elementary school, he'd be doing advanced stuff and all the extra work, and then with football, at least in youth football, he was always playing up. You could just tell there was something special about this kid, and it's not what all the other kids had." 5 years later, Preston would join his team at high school, as during his freshman season at Parish Episcopal, he played on the varsity football team. Although it was his first year on the team, he was actually named the starting quarterback, and he had to lead upperclassmen. He said, quote, "I've never had a player as talented as Preston that works like he's not very talented at all. I can't remember him missing a weight workout since I've been here." Flash forward a couple more years, he'd come off his first 3 high school seasons in which he had thrown for over 11,000 yards and 134 touchdowns, including nearly 3,300 yards and 37 scores as a sophomore, as a junior alone. He also ran for nearly 1,000 more. His play on the field led to national recognition and many calls from coaches all around the country. Playing football at the next level was something Stone had always dreamed about, and because he was a standout at such a young age, the goal always seemed to be within his grasp. He received his first college offer in 8th grade from Nevada, and that came before he'd even played a snap of high school football. Preston Stone could choose to go pretty much anywhere in the country to play college ball, but instead, he intended to stay right at home. He chose SMU, at the time a Group of 5 school, over the likes of Penn State, USC, Texas, and LSU. Why the Mustangs? He said, quote, "I've had affinity for SMU my entire life. My dad is an alum, and my older brother Parker is currently a walk-on receiver. I've been ready, Dallas is my home, and I love the city, and I love SMU." But his final year would be kind of one of those crazy years. I'm talking about the 2020 year. Instead of playing football, he was sort of on the sideline, and he said, quote, "It's been a crazy adjustment." He ended up picking SMU over 40 other offers during the halftime of the Army All-American Bowl in San Antonio, and this was a huge moment for SMU. In 3 high school football seasons, he had thrown the ball over 1,000 times and had only been picked off 15 times. 7 of those came during his freshman year. My goodness, this guy was efficient. He ended up becoming a magician on the field, as he had an excellent ability to escape when the pockets collapsed. Add that to his arm strength, delivery, and overall football IQ. This guy had the makings of something special. Taking a look at his high school resume, it was nearly impeccable. He threw for 13,207 yards, which was more than any other quarterback in Dallas area high school football history. He ranked 4th all-time in Texas high school football history, behind Grant Gunnell, Hunter Lyle, and Travis Quintanilla. He was a true dual-threat option, and finished with over 15,000 all-purpose yards and 179 touchdowns. Because of this, there would be great expectations. He said, quote, "My whole life, the expectations I hold most important are the expectations I set for myself. That's really all I'm going to try to prove to anyone, and to prove I can achieve my dream of being a successful college quarterback and bring SMU to prominence and get that national championship." Okay, so according to 24/7 Sports, Stone was a 4-star recruit, the number 15 quarterback, and the 111th best player in the class of 2021. So how would he do at SMU? Stone would obviously arrive at SMU with a ton of fanfare, and he wanted to compete right away. He said he expected to enter a quarterback battle when he got to college, and there'd be no hard feelings if he was not named the starter amongst his arrival. Well, he saw very little action during his first couple of seasons there, as he patiently waited behind Tanner Mordecai, who was also a Texas guy who played at Oklahoma before transferring to SMU. Mordecai was really good, but he did get a chance to play a little bit his sophomore year. In the one matchup he saw good action in, he ended up throwing for 219 yards and a score in a victory over Tulsa. 2 years into his college career, Stone would have to start getting things going. In 2023, he would finally get his opportunity, with Mordecai heading off to Wisconsin. How did Stone do? He got off to a blazing start. He threw for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in his first win against Louisiana Tech, and then had 250 yards in a loss to Oklahoma. Besides a loss to TCU, Stone went berserk. He helped them beat Prairie View A&M, Charlotte, East Carolina, Temple, Tulsa, Rice, North Texas, Memphis, and Navy. He had 6 games with over 3+ touchdowns, and Stone truly became a star. He ended up throwing for 3,197 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. He also ran for 198 yards and 4 scores on the ground, and Preston was becoming a really good quarterback. Unfortunately though, things would get difficult, as he had an ankle injury in their final regular season game, and this would keep him out for the rest of the year, giving way to rising star Kevin Jennings. Jennings would then help them beat number 22 Tulane in the American Conference Championship game, and all of a sudden there was trouble brewing on the horizon for him. But no one really thought about this. In 12 starts, Preston had thrown for 3,200 yards, which was good for 26th in the country, and 28 touchdowns, which was 11th, and just 6 picks. His passer efficiency rating was 163.1, which was top 15 in the country, and his yards per completion ranked 5th. He had 4 games of over 300 yards and 9 games at multiple passing touchdowns. This guy was a star. After starting all of that season, there was a quarterback battle that summer though. All of a sudden things had become a little bit tighter, as Kevin Jennings would battle it out with Stone, but Coach Rhett Lashley decided to go with Preston. Sadly, he was underwhelming in a 5-point win over Nevada, as they started that game as 27.5-point favorites but barely won. He also didn't play great against BYU. He also split time against both Houston Christian and BYU before Jennings was officially given the nod for the remainder of the season. What Jennings did next, nobody saw coming. He led them to a nearly perfect rest of the season, an ACC title appearance, and a college football playoff berth. All of a sudden, Preston Stone had to watch all this happen from the bench, and instead of being bitter about it, he embraced it and enjoyed it. He didn't try to opt out early. He instead stayed with the team through the entire playoff run and decided to enter the portal. As I said, he ended up being the backup, and he got to help SMU go to the college football playoff. With 1 year of eligibility remaining, Preston wanted to go somewhere where he could start and get ample playing time. Where did he end up choosing? Well, he'd go up to the Big Ten and choose the Northwestern Wildcats. Coach David Braun made one of the more underrated splashes in this year's portal, as he added Preston Stone just a couple of days after their playoff appearance. As I said, Stone will head to Evanston for his final year of eligibility, as over 3 years he started 16 games for the Mustangs. He had over 4,000 passing yards and 35 touchdowns, and also had 6 more scores on the ground. In terms of his efficiency, this guy was highly regarded, as he was the second highest rated transfer behind Mark Gronowski, who's going to Iowa from South Dakota State, and was also listed ahead of Carson Beck, John Mateer, and Devon Dampier. This was according to PFF. Sadly, this went anything according to plan for Northwestern and for Preston Stone, as after winning the starting quarterback job, he was hopefully going to be the guy that turned Northwestern's quarterback stereotype around. I mean, the Wildcats have not had a good quarterback, honestly, since Peyton Ramsey back in 2020, and not only was Preston supposed to change that, but he was also going to help Northwestern break out. Many believed the Wildcats were a bottom 3 team in the Big Ten, and in their Week 1 game against Tulane, they did absolutely nothing to break that narrative. As I said earlier in the video, Preston Stone was just awful. There was an early fumble, and then he ended up having 4 interceptions. He looked completely out of it, And in total, he went 19 of 36 for 161 yards, and as I said, 4 interceptions without a single touchdown, and he had a 9.2 QBR. This was absolutely terrible, and he also had negative 42 yards rushing. It is absolutely nothing personal against Preston Stone, but he might have had the worst performance of any quarterback in college football so far in 2025, and he probably has the title of the worst Power 5 quarterback right now. This is very sad though, as I really thought he was going to be insane in 2024 at SMU, but instead he ended up getting benched, had to transfer, and now just doesn't seem to have it anymore. I was really excited for him coming out of high school as well, and it's sad to see over the course of these last few years how much Preston Stone has fallen off. But the college football season is long, and maybe he'll be able to turn it around. I don't think there's any guarantees of him playing ever again after this performance, but Northwestern might be so thin at the quarterback spot that he is still their best option. Either way, I think it is going to be a long year for the Wildcats, and their best chance of getting a win comes next week against Western Illinois, and then maybe they beat UL Monroe, and other than that, I don't think they win another game. I think they go winless in Big Ten play, and they look for a new quarterback next year. Maybe I'm speaking too soon, but for now, that's what happened to Preston Stone. Except, what do you guys think? If you're an SMU or a Northwestern fan, what has gone wrong for Preston Stone? What has gone wrong for Northwestern? And what topic from week 1 should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out some of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.